Hi, thanks for joining me today. I'm going to show you how to make a fun Christmas tag using a cool watercolor technique and then a neat way to package a set of tags to give as a gift. So let's get started. This is the Star of Wonder stamp set by Papertrey Ink, and the first thing that I thought when I saw all these pretty silhouette images was of all the neat inking techniques you could do for the background. And today I'm going to show you a really fun technique that uses dye inks as watercolors. And this is probably a technique that you're gonna remember. It's not going to be anything new to you. Probably something that you learned in art class in elementary school, but I know it's not something that I do very often, and I really liked how it turned out on this project. So let me show you what I did for my tag set. So I'm starting with one of the images from the Star of Wonder stamp set, and you can see mine is really stained. If you're working with StazOn ink and you use a StazOn cleaner right away afterwards, you will get it nice and cleaned up. I did not do that, obviously, so it is stained, but it doesn't make any difference when you're stamping. And I've got my StazOn black ink pad and just a little piece of watercolor paper. Now you can get really super nice watercolor paper that's designed specifically for projects like this. This is just from my local art supply store, just the kind that comes in a pad, and it works perfectly well for this as well. So I'm just going to get my stamp inked up really well with my StazOn ink. And then I will stamp this onto my watercolor paper. And you really want to give it a good press and kind of hold it for a minute. A little bit longer than you normally would, because that watercolor paper has a lot of texture to it, and you want to make sure it gets down into all the little nooks and crannies in the paper so that you get a nice even image. And that's not perfect, but it's not bad. I've chosen 3 colors of Stampin' Up inks. I have Pool Party, Tempting Turquoise, and Island Indigo. And these are really my favorite dye inks for watercoloring. I like how they behave a lot when you're using watercoloring techniques with them. And when you're choosing your colors, you want to make sure that you have kind of a light, medium, and a dark. If you're using all the same tone, like these are all blues. Or if you're choosing 3 different colors, like for example, maybe a red, orange, and yellow, you want to make sure that they're all going to blend together really nicely, and then even then you have one that's kind of light and one that's dark and one that's kind of in the middle. And then I also have my just my water brush here, and the barrel is filled with water. So you've probably seen me or somebody else do this before, but I'll show you one more time. To get the ink so that you can use it as a watercolor paint, you just press together the lid and the ink pad, and then when you open it up, you can see you have that pool of ink in the lid, and that is what you're going to pull from, kind of like your paint palette. You may remember this from elementary school art class as the watercolor wash technique. And pretty much the first thing you want to do is just get the background of your stamped image really good and wet. And I'm squeezing a good amount of water into my brush and just getting this whole piece really nice and wet. I'm not worrying about going outside of the lines because I'm going to cut this out afterwards. If you are using dye to cut it out that leaves a little white border around the edge, you might want to not get it quite so wet to start out with. But it's really hard to stay within the lines on this technique. So once you have that paper, the background, all saturated, I like to start with my lightest color, which in this case is the Pool Party. And I'm going to put some on my brush. And at this point you don't really need to use quite as much water. And I'll just start painting in that color. And you can see how, because the surface of the cardstock is already so wet, the color kind of spreads out really nicely for you right off the bat. And then in between colors, I'll just clean my brush on a paper towel. And then I'll move on to my medium color. And just paint in kind of a stripe of that color and allow it to blend with my lighter color. And then I can take some of my darkest color and work down from the top and let that blend with the middle shade. And then if I feel like one of the colors is getting kind of lost, I can go back in, pick up a little bit more ink, and work it back in to the section that it was in to begin with. Just keep going until you have a look that you like. And I think that looks pretty good. And now I'm just going to set this aside to dry, and if you want to heat set it to kind of hurry it up a little bit, you can certainly do that. But you want to give it some time to make sure that it is completely dry. So this is what my watercolor wash image looks like when it is completely dry. And now all I'm going to do is just take my small scissors and cut carefully around the edge of this image because I don't have a circle die that fits this perfectly. And here you can see the finished tag that I made with my watercolor image. I just layered the watercolor paper onto a white circle, and I used some of the Papertrey Ink dies as well as one of the sentiments from the Star of Wonder stamp set just to make this cute little tag. And all it needs is a little piece of ribbon or some twine through the hole, and it's ready to tie on a package. This is a metal hinged tin that I bought online. It's about the size of a DVD case. It measures about 5 by 7 inches. So I want to show you what I did with this to make cute gift packaging for my tags. This is a piece of craft cardstock that measures 9 by 5. And if you cut this out of a 12 by 12 sheet, you can get 2 of them per sheet of cardstock. And I'm going to use this to make a little divider insert for my DVD tin. So I'm going to score this first at 2 3/8, and then 2 7/8, and 3 3/8. And now I'm going to turn this the other way around and do the same thing. 2 3/8, 2 7/8, and 3 3/8. And then I'm going to take my corner chomper, and to help this fit into my DVD case better, I'm just going to go through with the 1/2 inch corner rounder. And I'm going to round all 4 corners. Now I've got it flipped over to the side that I did not score on, so this is the back side, and I'm going to take some score tape, and I'm using 1/8 of an inch score tape. It doesn't really matter how thick your score tape is in this circumstance. You just want to make sure you're using something that's going to hold. And I don't know how well you can see these score lines, but I just put, this is my center score line, and then I have the 2 score lines on either side. And I just put my piece of score tape in between the center and one of the other 2. It really doesn't matter which one you do. And I'm just going to do the same thing here on my other set of score lines. And then I'm just going to go ahead and remove the backing. And on both sides, I'm going to fold on my center score line and stick that down. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm just going to fold on the center score line. And now, starting with this flap that's on top, I'm going to fold backwards on that score line. Then I'm going to fold this flap backwards, just like that. And then I'm going to flip it over and fold these little tabs up. And you can see now we have 3 sections for our tags. So I'll bring my DVD tin back in, and if we did this right, that should fit perfectly inside. And the little tags fit right in between the dividers. And now let me show you, I've gone ahead and used the other two silhouette images from this kit from the stamp set, excuse me, along with some other of the Papertrey Limitless Layers dies. And I made a whole set using different colors of inks to do the watercolor sky in the different images. And this would make a really, really sweet gift, especially a hostess gift or a work gift or a Secret Santa. And it doesn't take too much time, but they can see that you put a lot of effort into it, and it's inexpensive, and it would be a really fun thing to give to somebody this season. So thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.